It's been well over 2 years since we featured any trail running kit from the Kailas brand, so I thought it was about time we had them back on the channel because, you know, I was a massive fan of their Fuga EX2 and the EX BOA, and in fact, these made it into my top 5 running shoes of 2022. So I'm excited to tell you all about the latest version, so the Fuga EX3. Now, there has been some big changes with the latest update. So we've got a new upper design, a new midsole and outsole construction. So it's pretty much a brand new shoe from the ground up. So let's give you a few facts and figures, and then I'm going to be lacing these up and bringing you guys along on the first run. Hope you've all had a great weekend and you've managed to get out for some awesome running adventures. I'm Lloyd Purvis and this is Run4Adventure. Now, I really can't believe it was well over 2 years since I ran in the Fuga EX2, and you know, time really does fly by as you get older, and I can always remember my parents saying, you wait, as you get older, time speeds up and the day, weeks, months and years just disappear. And I always thought, you know, what are they talking about? What a load of rubbish. But now I know they were right, and it really does seem to speed up and disappear. So this is why we need to make sure we make the most of our wonderful time on this planet, and that is exactly what we're planning to do in 2025. And we've got some awesome races and adventures penciled into the calendar already, and you can actually find out all about them in this video. So I'll leave a link in the description for our race plans for 2025 video, so you can go and check them out in a bit more detail. But for now, let's get back to the shoes. So like I've already mentioned, there has been some big changes this time around when it comes to the Fuga EX3, but I'm happy to see that there's still a few of those very sort of unique features that Kailas bring to the trail running table. But let's start off with the all-important price, and you can pick up a pair on the Kailas website for £130, although we are quite late to the Fuga EX3 party and the shoes have been out for a while. So I actually found them in some online retailers for as little as £108, and that seems like really good value for a shoe of this quality. Weight wise, my pair in a UK 9.5 tips the scales at 317 grams. So I wouldn't say they're the lightest trail running shoe out there, but you do get a deep stack of cushioning in that midsole. And actually, speaking of stack heights, I couldn't find them anywhere, but I do know it runs off an 8mm heel offset. So I'd actually say that's quite high for a trail running shoe, and probably about as high as I'd want to go when it comes to offset. Also, believe it or not, they're available in 7 different colour options. Now, I'm not sure we need 7 different colourways, but there is 7 of them, so there should be something there to suit everybody's colour tastes. And they also come with a nice quality shoe bag that's been made out of surplus material, and I actually think that's a pretty good touch. Moving on to construction, and let's start with the upper first. So we've got this nice lightweight, breathable, engineered mesh design with lots of TPU overlays for a bit of substance and durability. We've got a moderate level of padding in the gusseted tongue, and I'd say there's a good level of padding around the ankle collar and in the heel. We got some nice upfront protection in the form of a substantial toe bumper, and if you're a big fan of running with gaiters, then the Fuga EX3 comes with the Kailas 4-point gaiter attachment system. So makes it very easy to attach your gaiters, keeps them nice and secure, just to try and help keep out any unwanted trail debris from your shoes. But I would say one of the most unique features is the Kailas lacing system. So we've actually got a 2-section tightening system going on, which performs very similar to Salomon's quick lace system, but instead of having 1 tightening buckle, you get 2 on the Fuga EX3. So we've got 1 at the top of the laces and then 1 further down, and this gives you a lot of sort of personalization of fit and adjustability. And once you've got those laces pulled down nice and tight and set up right for your foot shape, just pop the end of the cord in the little pocket at the top of the tongue and you are ready to run. Moving down to the midsole, and we've got an updated midsole design this time round. So you can see on the heel, we're actually sunk down into that midsole now for a bit of extra stability. And speaking of stability, Kailas have also made the profile wider. So we've got 4% more width on the forefoot and 15% more width on the heel. And if I grab the EX2 and hold them up, you can see what I mean. So much wider forefoot and heel section on the midsole in the Fuga EX3. And then on the bottom, we've got their power grip outsole design. So this actually gives you a tire-like multi-directional triangular lug design on the forefoot to give you good levels of traction when you're running fast uphill. And then we've got these washboard style lugs on the heel section, and they're designed to dig in and give you good levels of traction on downhill trails. Kailas have also worked in some flex grooves across the forefoot, and you can see at the midfoot there, we got that bright yellow Vibram logo. So yep, the shoes are clad in their sticky Mega Grip rubber. So levels of grip should be good when we're running in wet conditions. So there's a bit of info about all the new updates and features of the Fuga EX3, but now it's time to put all those changes to the test and compare them performance-wise to the previous version, the Fuga EX2, which I really enjoyed running in. So without further ado, let's pop off, grab the cameras, get changed, get these on our feet, and let's get running. Okay, so we've just clicked past 3 miles, so far so good. However, I think we are chasing the weather today. So when I left home, it was raining. I think I was driving away from the rain to the beautiful Tehidy Woods, but it's heading this way. So hopefully we'll get the run done in time. It's actually been raining for the last 2 or 3 days, pretty much non-stop. We had, I don't know, 2 days of nice weather. I knew we'd pay for it in the long run, and it's been pretty wet over the last 48 hours. The upside of that is it means we got some great testing conditions in the woods today. As far as the shoe is concerned, the first thing I'm noticing is the sizing. So when I tested their shoes over 2 years ago, they were only available in full sizes. And you'll know if you followed the channel, I tend to be a UK 9.5 in most of my running shoes. So I used to find that I either went down to a UK 9 or up to a UK 10. And you know, the 9s felt a little bit small, especially for longer efforts. And the 10s didn't quite fit my foot shape right. So this UK 9.5 is perfect on length, and I would definitely say that the Kailas shoes are true to size. So a really nice, comfortable, secure lockdown around my midfoot with that clever lacing system, a good hold in the heel, and I would say the EX3 is giving me a little bit more sort of wiggle room in the toe box when I compare it to the previous model. So yep, so far the upper is fitting my foot shape like a glove. But like I said, let's try and get this run done before the rain comes. It's not that I'm a fair weather runner, it just makes it a lot trickier to film when it's raining because we obviously get water on the lens, and I want to capture you some nice footage of the woods. So let's crack on. We're aiming for 8 miles today. Okay, it is definitely, it's pretty boggy in here today, but the good news is the last couple of times I ran into Tehidy, they were doing lots of forestry work, and these beautiful top trails are actually closed off to the public, but they must have finished. They're open today, and I love these trails. Beautiful, but they have cleared a lot of trees out. That's crazy. Wow. So if you are familiar with Tehidy Woods, look at this. Look how many trees have been taken out. This is the top trail. So, you know, this was full of trees, really dense woodland, and there obviously was an issue. They've had to clear it out. Maybe some kind of disease or something like that, but oh my God. I've been running in here for what, 20 years, and this is a big change. Okay, we are getting ever closer to the finish. So I've just crossed over 6.5 miles and I think we lucked out with the weather. The clouds started to clear and I've even seen a bit of blue sky, but definitely a lot muddier than I was expecting. But considering that Power Grip outsole has only got a 4mm lug depth, it's actually coped with the conditions really well. I think that triangular lug shape has given me good levels of traction. Obviously, in really boggy, muddy conditions, because of the lug depth, it would struggle a bit, but in here it's performed really well. So another solid run in the legs, that's for sure, and the shoes perform well. But let's get back to the studio and we'll wrap up with a quick conclusion on how the shoes have performed around a pretty challenging Tehidy Woods. Also, gonna get on the rollers, massage the legs, have a good stretch, because we have got our first race of the season. I can't believe I'm saying that and it's April. Why haven't we raced any sooner than this? Obviously, with that fall on the coast path, it stopped me running the Cousin Jack. But yeah, first race tomorrow, Bodmin Beastly half marathon. So while you're watching this on Sunday evening, I should have completed the run. Fingers crossed, hopefully. And Liga's gonna be joining me, so that video will be coming soon. But let's get back to the studio, wrap up with the conclusion. Well, that was a much more challenging first run in the Fuga EX3 than I was expecting today. Now, I know we'd had a fair bit of rain over the last few days, but I really wasn't expecting muddy conditions like that in Tehidy Woods today. But it was actually great, you know, brilliant testing grounds, and I got to test this Power Grip outsole out on some really tricky trail conditions. And I'd actually say that it overachieved, considering it has only got a 4mm lug depth and the shoe's not really designed for those types of conditions. So I think that this triangular lug design that Kailas have come up with actually offers really good levels of traction when you're running in the mud. It also seemed to clear that mud quickly, so it didn't hold on to it like some outsoles can. And I think that plays a really big part when it comes to gaining traction from the outsole on your trail running shoe. So a couple of times maybe I slipped slightly, lost a bit of traction in the really boggy areas, but on a whole, I felt really confident on my footing in all the sticky, slippery stuff today. And obviously we got Vibra Mega Grip rubber on the bottom there, so the level of grip I had on any wet, rocky trails was really good. The upper felt nice and comfortable straight out of the box, and to be fair, the Kailas trail running shoes have always worked well for my foot shape, and with this clever lacing system, it allowed me to get that sort of personalisation of fit with all the adjustments. So felt really dialed in and locked down around the midfoot, and it stayed locked down for the whole 7.5 miles of the run. Nice hold in the heel, and I would definitely say there is a bit more room in the toe box when I compare these to the previous Fuga EX2, which I actually really liked on today's run. It was nice having a little bit more wiggle room up front. And I would actually say the Kailas shoes do fit and feel very similar to a Salomon trail running shoe, and you know, that's another brand that seems to work well for my foot shape. At first, I wasn't sure about this wider profile design on the midsole, because I've run in shoes in the past where the brand's done a similar thing, and I've always found that it's affected performance in a bit of a negative way. So the shoes sort of felt flat and they felt a bit slappy to run in, but happy to report that that wasn't the case in the Fuga EX3, and they actually felt pretty responsive around Tehidy Woods. If I was splitting hairs, I would maybe like to see them 20-25 grams lighter. I think that would make the shoes feel even more nimble, and I actually think that type of weight saving would be quite straightforward to achieve for the Kailas brand. The midsole felt comfortable on all the different types of terrain that I ran, and we had a good variation on the test run. So we had tarmac paths, we had gravel trails, rocky trails, we had wooden boardwalks, and obviously lots of slippy, muddy, rooted trails, and it soaked it all up with ease. There's also a top quality insole inside the Fuga EX3, and I really think this makes a big difference. You know, some of the brands really scrimp when it comes to their insoles, and they try and make them as cheap as possible, and I don't think that's the way to go, because a quality insole can make a big difference when it comes to underfoot comfort. So I really think it's worth a bit of investment. The one thing I would say is don't expect this midsole on the Fuga EX3 to bounce you along like a La Sportiva Prodigio Pro or a Hoka Mafate Speed 4, because you know it's not going to do that. Now it felt comfortable, but it didn't give me that sort of high energy returning feel. Obviously on the plus side, it did feel super stable and really well connected to the trail. So it really comes down to what you're looking for performance wise when it comes to the midsole on your trail running shoes. You know, do you want a super soft bouncy ride, or would you rather have something that's slightly firmer and feels a bit more stable? So wrapping up, when I first saw the changes, I was a little bit concerned that Kailas might have spoiled a trail running shoe that I really enjoyed running in, but I shouldn't have worried because these were just as much fun to run in as the previous version, the Fuga EX2. Obviously, now they're available in my size, a UK 9.5, they fit my foot shape better, and that really has made a big difference. And like I mentioned earlier, if you can pick these up online for only £108, that seems like a really good deal to me. Obviously, these are just my initial thoughts after today's first run, and it's going to be really interesting to see how the shoe gets on over time, but first impressions are definitely good. Gotta say, a big thanks to Kailas for sending out the Fuga EX3 for testing. Really appreciated, and it's good to have the brand back on the channel. If you've got any questions about the shoes or about running in general, please feel free to get them in the comments below, and I'll try and get back to them as soon as possible. But for now, thanks for watching, it's really appreciated. Don't forget, if you have enjoyed the video and you found it helpful, to like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already, as it is a big help to the channel. Really hope you have a fantastic week. We'll be back here soon with some more interesting running content, and as always, stay safe and keep on running. There has been some big changes in this version when it comes to the update. So we've got a new designed upsole, a new designed upsole. It's a new thing. It's a combination of an upper and a midsole, and they call it an Outsole. Latest running technology. State of the art it is.